Mount Sophia, the street and name of a hill, situated in Rochor area, just by Bras Basah. From the colonial era to modern times, there has been much change and development encompassing Mount Sophia and its vicinity, particularly educational, religious, and social aspects. As such, Mount Sophia retains a major part of Singapore's illustrious history, notwithstanding the fact that modernization and economic prosperity is prioritized over the preservation of many artifacts for future generations to revisit their past and learn about Singapore's history. Communities always have a central and intrinsic influence in their area, which in a way demarcates the area as a particular community's sphere of influence. Mount Sophia had a large population of Jews during the last quarter of the 19th century to the first half of the 20th century till nowadays, as seen by the Star of David on the David and Elias building, which is symbolic of the Jew former occupants in the area. The many Jewish families that settled in the Malayan were very poor and they struggled to make ends meet. To make matters worse, their living conditions were miserable and the large families had to cramp into many small two-story houses.
ਹੈਗੇ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਆਂਢ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਅੰਕਲ, ਮਾਂ, ਨਾਨੀ, ਦਾਦੀ, ਭੈਣ, ਭਰਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਉਹ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਅਸੀਂ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਵਿਲਕੀ ਰੋਡ 65 ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਸੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਯਾਦ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਭਾ ਨੂੰ, ਜਦੋਂ ਸਫਾਇਆ ਰੋਡ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਟੈਕਸੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਯਾਦ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਇੱਥੇ ਜੌੜੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਸਾਰੇ। ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਯਾਦ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ।
Another instance of remembering their roots was the Monash building the synagogue in the vicinity of the Mount Sophia at Waterloo Street to allow his fellow Jews to use the expansive and voluminous synagogue to pray. It was named Mahagen Abbot Synagogue and is still present today despite renovation. Evidently, a large majority of the Jews settled at Mount Sophia and its vicinity, but that number has dwindled ever since Singapore gained independence. Mount Sophia was a hub of social activity with many institutions for a variety of purposes located at or around Mount Sophia. Some of them include educational institutes, sacrosanct religious buildings, and even entertainment facilities like the very popular Cathay Cinema. Sophia means wisdom in Greek and is an appropriate reference to the proliferation of educational institutes on that hill. Methodist Girls' School was the first educational institute for girls established in Singapore by the Methodists. Many stories of the girls' social activities document the history of Mount Sophia. Then, how was your school life like?
Oh, very good. Very, very happy. Yes. Like yours, isn't it?
Could you share some of your favorite memories of your school life then?
I think it was mainly my friends, perhaps, and my teachers. I mean, you always remember the people that are associated with the school, I think. Two other aspects perhaps would be the buildings, because being a mission school, you always have fundraising and building new buildings. So I remember there was a time whereby I was, I think, in primary 4, primary 5, and we all had to be split up as a school because they were building a new building, a whole new wing for the primary school. It's the Carey Canyon building. Yeah. So the littlest ones were all sent away to Sunshine Primary School. They all had to relocate, but there was a portion of us that couldn't be relocated because I don't know what, maybe no space or what. So we had to stay in Mount Sophia while all the construction was all around us. And it's very poignant because that's the building, the only building they're going to retain.
I didn't get into MEP, so I opted to do O-level music. So at the time, it was a very small exclusive class, and we felt really kind of important because it was only a few of us that gets to leave school half an hour earlier than our classmates. So it was kind of fun going all the way to town, and then just exploring that place. Yep.
Then there's another small little, like a double-storied house which they call the Mary Nine house. So they would stay in Mary Nine house, and then they would go to the school, you see. And as little girls, I mean, whether true or not, in the same league that all toilets are haunted, we used to say that house was haunted because it was a very old building in the very colonial kind of structure. Yeah, and I think it's still like that today.
Say that the steps were a source of so-called rumors and tales when they are studying there. So it seems that the steps is 100 step that you should actually continue to walk the steps if you're heading upwards. So if you do break down somewhere, like you're tired or you stop, right, and then you realize that the number of steps will actually be more than 100 or less than 100, and that's when bad things can happen to you. If you are going up the step at night, you can see actually this Malay ghost called the oily man. Have you heard before? The oily man? Yeah, so it does appear to scare the girls, and apparently the stories, not sure whether it's true, but it was a big deterrence to so-called prevent the girls from going back home late at night. So when the girls go down and go up the stairs, right, they don't count. Because if you count them and they are not 100, then it's quite bad lah. Yeah.
The 100 steps is nostalgic, very nostalgic for the girls. It's quite unusual to have such a long staircase in that sense. On hindsight, I always think, how dangerous it would have been to like really run all the way. Can you imagine if you got tumbled? But we were fearless, I think, when we were younger. Mount Sophia is quite a valuable piece of land for the government. I mean, it's prime land, it's in the middle of, that area, and that they probably want to develop it into something more useful. I mean, it was good that they kept the buildings intact. We would go back and reminisce about the old days that we were in school. Like, for example, the science lab became a restaurant. And I felt a bit funny eating in the science lab, I know it's a science lab, all the chemicals and all that, and there I was having like fusion food inside, Yeah, and then I think somebody's classroom became a photocopy shop or something like that, that kind of thing. So it was quite quaint.
I felt a little bit sad that it has been, MGS has moved, and then it's now a place where you have all those very chic pubs and restaurants, and there's a cinema there. I mean, you're aware of that? There's an old cinema there as well. So I felt that they should have retained that because it gives you a very nostalgic flavor. So but the fact that Singapore is now developing every single place and it's now making it into a hub of activity, I felt that, it's quite a pity.
Good and bad, I guess. I mean, there's always a part of me that says, why can't you just leave things as they are, because then you have something to go back to and visit and revisit.
The thing about it is like if you remember the old days, it's actually very, very nice, very breezy, it's very green. So after all the condos have been put up there, it feels a bit strange. I used to enjoy having this idea of cutting through the car park to go up to a school. I think that's a very interesting feature of the school. You can't go up by any other way unless you drive, or you go by the front gate. So for us, we go by the back gate, and that's only possible if you go up to the 100 steps. So that one's gone. So even though I'm not an MGS girl, I still remember very fondly the days that I had to climb up the stairs. But I mean, that case, but think that aside, right, if you look at Singapore's development there, I think some things have to go. So while we felt that it's a pity, it can't be helped as well.
Mount Sophia, which holds rich and illustrious history that is documented through different stories retold by past students of the schools, of the education and school district. However, in the face of economic prosperity that is prioritized heavily in Singapore, history and these memories and stories have no choice but to give way for development and modernization. And with this change, life of these people will be changed, as they are no longer able to revisit those places which they grew up in, which they spent their childhood in, and which they will remember for the rest of their lives.